Every year, thousands of graduates are churned out by our local universities. Even more young Kenyans clear their high school education but don't move on to tertiary levels of education. One thing that both of these groups of Kenyans have in common is that they will find a good life, and they will be able to find that good life because of a good job. But finding a job, and any job for that matter, is a full-time job all by itself. So what's that like? Ni kazi kupata kazi. So we live out loud with Njeru, a man who knows what that's like, next. Hello and welcome to Sheila Lives Out Loud. My name is Sheila. I'm super happy you found this channel. Please click subscribe and drop us a comment. Please watch this video right to the end. Share it if it means something to you or you think you know somebody who needs to see it. Also hit notifications so you never miss out on an episode, and we upload every Monday. We are living out loud at the waterfront Karen, the world-class retail and lifestyle destination that evokes the spirit of Ngare, Nairobi. That's Maasai for place of cool waters. If you're looking to set up shop or maybe expand your business, or you want a great experience out with a friend, with a family, this is the place to be. And we are living out loud with Njeru. Martin, ni kazi kupata kazi.
Yes, it is.
That is the title of this conversation, and you're a man who's been there.
Yes.
You've been in those trenches, you know what it's like to look for a job.
Yes.
Before we jump into the struggle, tell us a little bit about what you're doing now.
I'm currently a poultry rearing management consultant. So what I do basically is when opportunity arises, I go out in the field to train farmers who want to get into poultry rearing. But this happens mostly with NGOs that call me to do capacity building for farmers. So that is what I'm doing currently. And also, in a part-time basis, I try to develop agricultural content and translate it also from English to Swahili or from Swahili to English.
Excellent. So you're a man of many talents. And when you think about it, the Kenyan graduate today, or somebody who's coming through the Kenyan education system, you're capable of doing many different things. You're not just programmed for one thing. Unless, of course, you know, you went in to do med or you're an architect or things like that. But even so, I know architects who are also singers. Nameless, it's all about you. But we're moving on quickly back to this conversation. We've become a nation of people who are not just doing what we've studied. We're a nation of people who are looking for opportunities and who must find these opportunities because finding even opportunity and something to do is no longer a guarantee. Umenda shule umesoma, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get a job. Things have changed. So tell us about your experience. Growing up, you always knew you wanted to be a?
Now, I grew up in Mombasa, and when I was growing up, I really wanted to become a doctor. But I think by the time my KCC results came out, I realized that that's not what I'm going to do. So I ventured into biotechnology. So I did a degree in biotechnology, because I was so interested in biomedical stuff or lab work, that's what I studied. And after that, I did internships at various research organizations. And after that, here I am as a consultant. But over the years, what I've tried to do is I moved from the biotech, the lab work, now to more field work and interacting with farmers more, because that's what I felt I have a passion for.
Okay, and you've got good communication skills, so it was a natural progression for that to happen. If you look at your peers, how long did it take between graduation and finding a job for you? How long was that?
Actually, it took 3 years to land a job, a permanent 8 to 5 job, what we usually call a job. Because I did internships and then went out again to do casual work and then got a job. But then it also didn't last for long. And after the company downsized, you go back again into the job market. So it took 2 to 3 years to get a good job.
The reason I ask you this is because there's a friend of mine who got in touch with me and he said, you know, I haven't seen you for a long time, but there's something I need to tell you. I have a daughter, she studied accounts, she's done her undergraduate, she's back in college, she's finished her master's,
Yes.
and now she's contemplating a PhD, and it's simply because she's been home for 4 years and cannot find a job. So she's got the right papers. I'd like to believe auditing is a skill that we as a nation definitely and desperately need.
Sure.
But here's this woman with no job.
Yeah.
What is going on, Martin?
Now, I'd like to quickly go back to actually state that as much as I'm doing consultancy, I'm also like a job seeker, because that is something that I used to do on the side, that now when my job got terminated, I realized that I can just concentrate on it to make some to make the ends meet. But then I'm currently job seeking, so which has been 3 years down the line. As much as I have all the skills, but then it has taken 3 years. I'm still in the job market trying to search for jobs.
Right.
So there are many graduates who graduate, but the jobs seem to be depleted. They seem to be diminishing. As the number of graduates increase, the jobs are diminishing with time. So it reaches a point you have so many graduates who are off the job market, not because they don't have papers, but it's because the opportunities are not there. But yet you still hear that companies are hiring.
Right.
So you wonder,
who exactly are they hiring?
Who exactly are they hiring? So there's a disconnect somewhere between the institutions of learning, the institutions that are hired, the job organizations of the institutions, with what they want and what is there in the market.
Okay. It's interesting you put on the table the issue of papers. Recently, the deputy president took a lot of flack because he said, you know, sometimes some of these universities are churning out graduates with degrees that are not relevant, with skills and tools that are not necessarily quite needed in terms of, we want somebody who can do this, but then your degree says you can only do something else. Yeah. So he took a lot of flack for that.
Yes.
But when all is said and done, there are degrees that are needed and then there are degrees that are not. And I remember being in uni and I had friends who were sitting in linguistics classes and I'd ask them, when you're done, what's going to happen next? Then I had other friends who were taking anthropology. And I'd ask, so when you're done, what's next?
Yeah.
Where are we going with these degree courses? Yeah. And I'd like to know about your experience, your personal experience with great papers. I mean, you've taken something in the medical, in the sciences field. That should have, exactly, that should have already guaranteed employment. Yeah. Why is this not happening?
You know, as much as I said there is a disconnect, I think the disconnect starts from these universities or learning institutions. So for me, for example, I did a Bachelor of Science in Biotechnology, and we were guaranteed jobs because we were told by the time
people
we were doing it...
People would come to look for you.
We were pioneers. We were like the first graduates to ever graduate with a Bachelor of Science in Biotechnology. Yeah. But then here we are, still searching for jobs. The reason is, when we were learning, we were always told these jobs are there. But when we graduated, we found that those jobs are already filled by people who didn't necessarily do biotechnology. They are learning on the job.
Right.
You see, so they don't have a position for you as a newbie. So which doesn't give you a chance to practice what you learned. I, for example, have friends who did Bachelor of Science in Biology, Bachelor of Science in Chemistry. These people cannot be teachers because they didn't do Bachelor of Education Science. They can't be like biological researchers because it was not a research-based study. Right. So it reaches a point they just do, nowadays they just teach in a BOG, as a BOG teacher or a PTA teacher in a school somewhere.
Right, and it makes you want to ask yourself, then why did you sacrifice? Why did your parents pay all the kind of monies that they paid to these schools to get skills that you'll never use? But I'd like us to talk about internships because I've seen so many times online the trend being interns ni watu pia, interns are not slaves. Yes. And what is it like being a young intern in the Kenyan job market today?
That's a very good question. Being an intern, because I was an intern for 6 months somewhere, and when you're an intern, actually you're taken up as a slave. So they want to maximize the work for you, the work that you will do for them, because it's like you're now an errand boy or an errand girl to do this or that, and because they know you're doing it for a certificate that will show that you did an internship, you don't have a voice as an intern. You don't have a voice over pay. You don't have a voice over a say over what workload you're given, the timings. So your work is just take on as much as can be given to you and just do it for a fixed period of time.
And what kind of progression is there for some of these interns? Because I read the case of someone who was an intern for 3 years.
Yes.
Surely after 3 years, should it take that long before an institution can decide, yeah, we are absorbing you, or no, you can go home? I thought it was about 6 months. Why are people staying on for 3 years?
I think it's part of company strategy. Most companies don't have a strategy for taking up the interns. Very few of them that I know have a strategy where if they call a certain number of interns, they already know that the best performing interns will be given some slots. Once their internship contract expires, they'll be taken on board as something, maybe a research assistant, for example, or a position will be created for them. But most organizations don't have something concise as to what will be the next step for these guys. It's like they churn them out, they take another set of interns, they churn them out. So it's a continuous cycle.
We've talked about the paper side.
Yes.
We've talked about the institutional side of things, whereby the companies are also perpetuating some of the problems that we see happening. Yeah. But I also want to go back to the graduates, to the individuals as well, because this is a shared collective problem.
Yes, it is.
It's not just one side of this equation that's responsible for where we are. It's something everybody has either willingly or unwillingly participated in to bring us to the place that we find ourselves. Yeah. I think back to when I was in campus, and the certain things I kicked off in my campus years. I started working very young. I didn't wait until I graduated so that I could start working. I already had a taste of the industry that I wanted to be in way before I even graduated. And I feel for a lot of young Kenyans today, that is not the case. You're not pushing yourself. The idea that you're responsible for your own destiny still hasn't quite landed, because there's this notion of a fairy godmother, God sponsor, God something that's going to come in and happily ever after will unfold. Let's talk about that.
But it's not a notion. It's actually like fact nowadays. It's actually a part of the job searching process where you have to actually depend on, do you have a godmother? Do you have a god aunt? Do you have a god brother? Do you have a god sister? Who will actually refer you to some of these positions? Because number one, some of these positions, when they are, some of these vacancies, when they are advertised, they are either advertised internally or to a certain group of people whom, if you're not connected to, you will not be able to know that those vacancies exist. While others just wait on either tribesmen or uncles or parents who they know are capable of either financing their way up into a job or recommending them to someone who is either a relative or a colleague or an acquaintance of some sort.
Well, it pays to have networks. It's nice to know people.
Yes.
We were told to know people by a certain somebody, and we won't go into her case here. But then I also, while we acknowledge that, I also want to touch on personal self-motivation, where you go for the things that you want. Do you feel there's a slackness in this generation, your generation, where you still expect things to be done for you as opposed to you going out to make it happen? Or are we just not seeing the full picture?
No, that is true. I think it's a cultural thing that has been ingrained in the current generation of people, of young guys, that jobs will look for you. You'll not look for jobs. So you graduate and sit and wait to get that job coming for you. But then that is not the truth on the ground. You have to really go out and get motivated. But then it goes to a lot of, it's parenting, it's the society, it's the notions that are being created in the society of how people get jobs.
Now, I'd like us to focus on the con games and the schemes in play that are really taking people for granted. I know when it comes to, I've read the stories in the newspaper, especially when they're recruiting people, maybe in the police force, maybe in the army, and we've read about people who've been conning others and saying, tupatie X amount of money, na mtu wenu ataandikwa kazi. Tell us about some of those con games and schemes that people should be aware of.
Like nowadays, because we're actually getting into a serious digital era where most of this con has gone from being out there to being like physically one-on-one person, but then being behind some desktop somewhere or behind a phone, where someone contacts you and sends you an SMS or and tells you that you can be able to earn 10,000 shillings every day or every hour from just having your phone connected to the internet.
Right.
So such a thing is a scam, because look at the job market. We have a lot of unemployed youth. If there was such an organization that is able to pay such an amount of money, then you'd have all the youth in jobs.
Flocking there,
yeah, because 10,000 a day is very good money. But then this young generation needs to know to spot those pointers that they're like red flags.
Yeah.
Number one, a job promising a very, very good amount of money for a very short period of
and doing
time,
nothing,
and
that
doing
just
nothing.
having a phone
You're told
is
online
enough to
marketing.
make money.
Yeah, you're told just do online marketing, selling products that are not even there. You don't even know. The organization is not legit. It doesn't even have offices.
Yeah.
So the other type of con that I have experienced myself is you have people sending you a proxy. They see an advert from a certain company, but then it's a way, I think, people send an adapted version of that. It looks like a good website, a legit website, but then it's a scam website. So after you send in your CVs and all that, they keep telling you, please pay 500 shillings or 300 shillings as processing fee for your application in order for you to be called for the interview. So such things are, people should look out for, because most organizations don't charge for interviews, don't charge for processing.
Yeah.
They don't charge you anything.
It's just about the best candidate wins.
Candidate,
I like that you've talked about these con artists, because a while ago somebody sent me a message on my Facebook page, on my official Facebook page, and they showed me another page that had my name, but then the spelling of my name was slightly different. But for somebody who's not paying attention to the spelling, they'd think this is my page. And there were posts about, you know, register, send your name to earn this much money. If you want 10,000 shillings, follow me and give me your number. And so somebody, you know, sent me those messages and said, Sheila, are you doing this now? Is this your work? And I said, no, that is not a verified page. That is not my official page. Please don't do this. If anything, report this page. To Facebook or whatever, you know, platform that you found it in, because this is not me and I'm not responsible for it. But unfortunately, there are people who are being gotten, you know. You're being shikwad by these people and you have no business sending your number to people that you don't know.
Exactly.
So the way forward for young Kenyans, because next year, another batch of hopefuls from campus, from high school, because not everybody is going to get on to tertiary education. They'll be out and about looking for work. What would you advise, Martin?
My advice to them would be, number one, do as much as you can to perform the best in your whatever course that you're doing. Get the best grades. But then after you graduate, try and create a network. Try and create a network in your line of study. If you've done like agricultural courses, try and look for those networking events. Those networking events that bring together some of the key stakeholders in such a line, and go meet them, go introduce yourself to them, just go out and go to such functions. You will get to be able to get contacts. You'll be able to interact with those guys and see what do they really want. Then you'll be able to also get to know whether it's really a line that you want to pursue, because you'll be able to see seniors in your line. Number two, you also need to be actively engaged on all the social media platforms nowadays. There are companies that go out in these social media platforms and put out job adverts. So if you're just waiting for a newspaper, it's not the only source of information. So you need to go out and invest in some resources, get some bundles, get online, get on good platforms, and get to see these adverts. Also talk to your colleagues, the people you graduate with, or even the seniors that they've graduated with, that have graduated before them, to try and see the institution that they've gone to. If a vacancy occurs, then they can be able to just refer it to them so that they can apply and maybe get a job. So networks, you have to be a go-getter yourself. You have to go out and search for it. Then be prayerful. God is a very key component in that. Have a support system. You need to have someone who you can, because it is depressive. It is straining. You use a lot of energy. You squeeze the little resources that you have to be able to go out there and look for that one. So you need to have a support mechanism, someone you can share with these experiences, so that you don't get depressed to a point where you think of either committing suicide, or thinking that you just lose hope. So it's always good to have a support system, ensure that God plays a key role in your life, be prayerful, and have your networks. Right.
All right. You've said it so well. Are you available for people who are looking to tap into someone who knows? Are you willing to speak to people? Is there work that you do on the side for people who are stuck and would like to move forward?
Yes, I try to mentor the youth, where I come from. I try to talk to them and share with them my experiences.
Yeah.
As much as I'm not there yet, but I always believe there's a better tomorrow, and you can always be at a better place. But then I try to empower them. I try to show them that life is not that ideal sometimes. There is the real world out here is you have to go out yourself. You have to sweat. You have to get these things right.
And get things done. Thank you so much, Martin. What a wonderful conversation. I'm hoping it's the beginning of many, and the next time we see you, I'm hoping you're going to find the job of your dreams, which incidentally would be what? Because, hello, maybe the person who you've been looking for is watching you speak right now.
That's good.
I mean, you're also looking here, you know.
No, you've really put me on the spot, but then... But then I'm in the agriculture. I have a passion for training farmers. I have a passion for capacity building of farmers.
Right.
So I can take up a responsibility that requires me to go out there and empower the lives of farmers, because I feel agriculture is the way to go. And
it is. It is. And it will provide us with all these jobs we're so busy looking for.
Yes.
Turudi mashambani.
Turudi mashambani.
Hata wewe Sheila, rudi mashambani.
That's good.
But fantastic. What a wonderful conversation. Thank you once again for that. You are online. You're on social media. If you would like to catch up with Martin, I am going to share his social media handles on all my social media platforms, and you can get this conversation going. So get up, get out, do something. If it's not opening, try with your networks. Get to know people, not just sponsors. Please, know people who can actually elevate and move you to the next level. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode. If you loved this conversation, please drop us a comment. If you've seen something that you'd like to share with someone, go ahead, share this video with them. And remember to hit subscribe and hit notifications if you haven't already. We look forward to catching up with you again in the next episode from right here, the Waterfront Karen, a world-class retail and lifestyle destination. If you're looking to set up shop, or maybe you've got your business already, but you're moving on to the next step, which is world domination, this is where you should be. Until we catch up again, live out loud in all that you do. Bye.